Layup. That's how you stand up before it goes in. Yeah. Lexi's twin sister sitting courtside. One time I almost said, "Why are you not on the court?" to her.
Caitlin Clark's debut in the WNBA has been nothing short of exhilarating. There is no doubt about her skill, and she continues to create history and capture the imagination of fans around the globe. Her ability to command the court goes against the age-old perceptions of female athletes and demonstrates that entrepreneurship, and women's sport basketball in particular, should not be viewed any differently than in men's basketball. It's not just the points that she scores that make an impact, it's the points plus the energy that she brings to the game that makes every single game she plays in an event the stardom that comes with price these days, redefining the career more appropriate in the WNBA for the future course of players. Clark's ascent, however, is not only a clear victory for her, the feelings about it are true for the WNBA, which has been seeking recognition and appreciation for years. Clark is becoming upper conquered with all on what the league seeks for top-grade sports personalities who are eloquent and who can market on the court. The more people start to watch her, the more they will want to watch Women's National Basketball Association as well. She is more than just a basketball player. She embodies a new age of a woman and sport where lady athletes are adored and applauded for their accomplishments, not scandals. Caitlin Clark might be a success, but her fans have often condemned ESPN for bias in their reporting. Audiences have been aware that the same sports channel tends to escape the focus in Clark's notable achievements and instead reports on other aspects which are not entirely relevant to the sport. In particular, this sort of reporting has raised standards in sports journalism. And is it fair toward sports women? It's not only that they are left without gratitude for achievements, this is how media affects people's notions. When the very portrayal is not right, when a large channel like ESPN does not afford enough attention to a superstar like Clark, it sends the impression of what the channel considers important. This is not a detail, it is a serious problem for the sports media as a whole. There has been for many decades an unequal distribution and positive coverage of males over that of female competitor owners who have had to work even more to keep in the limelight. Clark's example is a quintessential case of how ESPN is failing in this regard by undercutting the extent of her significance. The network encourages social myths of lesser status attributed to women's competitive events. This has prompted a lot of discussions among the fans and the analysts regarding the necessity of real coverage that does justice to all the athletes and their achievements. Molly Caron, a major face of ESPN, has recently given the statement that only aggravated the dispute regarding the network's coverage of Caitlin Clark. Many people have taken her comments as belittling the achievements of Clark, triggering another storm for a myriad of fans. Firm's thoughts off the court were more than an off-the-cuff response. They were an observation on the sickly side of sport, where female athletes sulk in the shadows of disdain almost immediately, as has happened in similar cases in the past. Social media was awash with vituperative attacks of ESPN and its announcers. The same comments make the fact clear how much power and terror the public has once they are given the authority to shape public opinion. That's why the words that someone like Carr uses and similar does when she notes the achievements of up-and-coming Clark vary from media proclamations. However, what this incident goes on to demonstrate is the broader picture about the status of women and covers in the sports media. No, it's not only for some of the athletes on the court and some of the fans off the court who would want the changes to be made within, yes, on and off the covers of sports. As everyone knows, Stephen A. Smith has views on everything and did not shy away from the criticism hurled towards Caitlin Clark. Smith even blasted ESPN and his diatribe, explaining how the network has been inconsistent and covering Clark's basketball career. Smith's remarks resonated with a lot of viewers who have observed the imbalance in treatment of male and female sportspeople by the media. The fact that this issue has such implications is an indication that Smith understands the necessity of accountability and sports media. Smith's support of Clark is of great importance, not only because it is sports journalism blockhead who speaks about, but because there is the understanding that change is needed. In asking the question why Smith seeks to challenge the current paradigm and sports journalism, it is one that values what one can offer irrespective of gender differences. More importantly, these remarks have led to further discussions regarding the role which media, including ESPN, should assume and providing an objective coverage of the athletes. This is also an illustration of a moment when the individuals in that particular context vindicate that change is possible because they can and will speak against oppression. To top it off, another famous ESPN person, Pat McAfee, stirred the pot with a box office flow Love, which exposed a much bigger problem within the organization. This includes a McAfee's gaffe viewed by some as an instance of the casualness and thoughtlessness of American culture. This is exactly the kind of ignorance that extends to the problems women's sports have and garnering the same kind of attention that men's sports enjoy. This incident has given rise to concern over the environment available to women at ESPN and whether the network is doing its mandate in marketing and advocating active women such as Caitlin Clark. It is not simply one incident, it is the more enduring, more substantial, more ingrained, and more complex instances of behavioral patterns and attitudes that these cases represent. But there is also McAfee. These gaffe that suggests that sports media should be built on further awareness and education as more female athletic completely brings new consumers such as through sports bears. The media also has to adjust in terms coverage, respect and fairness. It's a positive sign that the audience is reacting to the comments made by McAfee and that they are not willing to turn a blind eye to say such archaic viewpoints. This was a wake-up call especially for ESPN and other networks which have some soul-searching to do and adjust their policies to foster a better sports media environment. Critics have remarked that following this a considerable backlash was directed at NPR. People were frustrated by how the coverage was being carried out. Members of the public, especially through social media, have heavily condemned the ESPN's actions, claiming that the channel did not act rightfully. This has brought greater views on the coverage of the fairness and equity solutions in sports journalism based on the sentiments from fans and analysts. There is a rising call for coverage of women's sports that is more sober and less objectifying. This is not mere pressure that one only pushes towards Caitlin Clark. It is the more fundamental issues in sports media that have been hidden for too long with regard to feminist ideals. This has raised eyebrows about the culture of the network in terms of priorities such as politics of gender equity, especially with how ESPN has responded to this situation. Also, more tensions existed because of the lack of a response from ESPN, where many of the viewers wanted the network to reply to the allegations made against it. At this particular phase, an important shift in the discussion about sports media has occurred, with fans demanding actions to avert similar reactions and future from all athletes regardless of the discipline. The story behind this Caitlin Clark and Espana in relation illustrates very well the issues facing accountability and sports journalism with greater knowledge of the discrimination that multiplies in the industry. Viewers are taking action. Networks that report on sports should be politically neutral. If they miss this and cross the bounds, they should take the consequences. Such criticisms that target ESPN are informed by the fact that people who widely consume sports media expect more than just watching the events, but how the events are presented or the players are celebrated at the same time. Such demand for accountability constitutes a gap that the sports media can come in and fill by advancing the ideals of fairness and representation. Being such a platform effective as it is, ESPN can and should address the historical and still current biases barring both parties and knocking on equality between them. It is learning from Caitlin Clark's story and current media engagements that one appreciates so much on the extent men and women sports factions have advanced and improved for equality. The last 2 decades have been the movement towards change the media environment for the sports industry. Key